wonderful freaks. Welcome to a brand new episode of Frequels. I'm your host, EJ Leeson. And with me today is my co-host and the only man who thinks the Mona Lisa is a piece of shit, Rory Calarasi. How you doing, man?
I've been in this building with you guys for far too long, and I think I'm starting to get a little bit of the cabin fever.
Ooh.
And the Mona Lisa is a piece of shit.
Cabin fever. Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'm putting a little
planting
hints.
the seeds.
Little Rory seed.
Yeah. And of course, with us today, as always, the podkeeper and fresh out of the nursery, young Vince. What's up, buddy?
How you doing, boys? Happy to be here, as always.
Always happy to see you. What's happening, man? What's new?
I'm excited about this episode because I feel like I finally got to pick a movie.
Yes, this is a Vince pick.
This is a Vince recommendation. For once, we did not say to him, shut your filthy
Shut
mouth.
the fuck up, Vince.
Vince, shut up.
Shut up.
Fair enough. I like it.
Let
It's
us
okay.
do the thinking.
Let
Yeah.
us do the thing.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, Vince, shut up.
Shut up.
He's
We're
like,
doing it.
Hey, can we do The Shining? I'm like, only if you shut up.
Yeah.
You know what, guys? I won't talk the rest of the episode.
No. I
I'm
can't
sorry,
wait to
Vince.
hear. I can't wait to hear what you thought, because this is a movie that you have probably heard about, right? Like, tell us your history, your personal history about The Shining.
So, Clockwork Orange, at a
Yes.
very young age, and once that came through, I fell in love with Stanley Kubrick with that, and just, I mean, let's go through the movies. Just start listing movies that Stanley Kubrick did. Go ahead.
Lolita, Spartacus,
Barry
we did
Lyndon.
Barry Lyndon. Paths of Glory is a fantastic movie. Did you ever see that?
No.
No.
No?
Full Metal
Did you see
Jacket?
any of the...
Full Metal Jacket.
Eyes
yes.
Wide
Yes.
Shut.
Eyes Wide Shut. Yes.
Clockwork Orange, one you mentioned, that is actually one of my favorite movies of
Yes.
all time.
Yeah.
And Stanley Kubrick, I think you and I could both probably say this, probably one of our favorite directors of all time as
Oh,
well.
Dr. Strangelove.
Dr. Strangelove.
I forgot about it. Yeah, I literally
Such a
just
good movie.
rewatched that the other day. Yeah.
So after watching this, one of my favorite directors now, because it's just, this whole thing is just packed with just beautiful cinematography, landscapes, sound, not even,
Yeah.
score was great, but sound engineering,
Mm-hmm.
shit that just, like, a sound could make you feel fear. And this movie had all of it in spades.
Yeah, his staging / blocking, outstanding. Because we'll get into like certain details about that, but like watching it, and then he always uses geographical space application, and so there's always like shapes that are kind of like formed within like using the actors or like the way he blocks it. And he always has the leading lines to the characters, which is amazing. And like this time watching it, I've watched this movie like numerous times. I was actually looking for that kind of stuff. And there's one point where, Jack's writing for the first time, and you have like a part of the sofa, like the arm of the sofa kind of being one of the leading lines to him. And then the way like Wendy is kind of standing, she's like out of frame, but you see like a part of her, but it fills the frame enough that the center is Jack, like you're looking at Jack. And so he does that so well, being able to point your eyes the way like he wants you to see, like what you're looking at. He's like, this is what you have to look at, and he does such a good subliminal way of doing that.
Well, what's interesting with him too is that there's a lot of filmmakers that we can talk about. We talk about all the time, like a Martin Scorsese, Christopher Nolan.
We were just talking about
Spielberg.
Hitchcock.
Hitchcock,
yeah.
But like Kubrick's one of those instances where you have a legitimate genius constructing these films. I heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that to calm down, he would just do complex math equations. Like that's what that guy would do just to unwind.
Yeah, I mean,
he was brilliant, and you watch his movies, and they're all just so carefully constructed and just like done in a way that only that guy could do.
Right.
That's why it's weird because he's one of those guys like when you sit around with makers. You talk to people for the first time about movies, and it's just like, who are some of your favorite filmmakers? And Kubrick is always coming up. And it's not one of those things where you're like, oh, he's a little overrated. It's perfectly rated.
But also for everyone.
Yeah.
You ask Spielberg, you ask the guys who are at the top of their game now, and Kubrick is a name that they look up to.
Nolan, man.
Yeah.
He is
Christopher
a huge
Nolan, fucking
Kubrick fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he is so he just thinks out everything, like every little detail, and
to his actors' nightmare too.
Right.
Yeah.
His actors working with him was a nightmare, but it's one of those things where you're like, stand back and look what you all did together.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
And because he is known to do numerous takes
And push his actors to the point where they don't want to work on the movie anymore. But it's
Poor Shelley Duvall in this
Shelley
movie.
Duvall. Oh,
She, it's a weird thing because when I was a kid, when I saw this movie for the first time, you're just mesmerized by Jack Nicholson because it's just one of those like legendary performances.
He has crazy eyes,
dude,
like
he's
you were.
amazing. But years down the road, when I would rewatch it, Shelley Duvall is so perfect in that movie.
Yeah.
She by the time it's over, she just looks like how you would
Unhinged.
probably look. Yeah. How a real person looks when they're terrorized.
Yeah, and even
she's so good.
Danny, like the kid, like
he was great for a young actor. He is phenomenal in this.
Every part of this movie just works. It's a well-oiled machine, and I feel like every Kubrick film is basically like that, right?
Yeah.
And this one in particular, I think if you ask, movie fans or filmmakers or whatever, I feel like The Shining is always probably in a top 3 position.
Everybody loves it except its author. Stephen King.
Well, the funny thing is, this movie, when it came out, it was like
panned.
Yeah, panned. Critics hated it. It was up for Razzies. It literally was like hated.
Spielberg, I heard him talk about The Shining once, and he said the first time he saw it, he thought that Jack Nicholson was terrible in it. Like he didn't understand it, but like he said, like upon rewatching it and years later, kind of understood what it was all about. But like I mean, it's a weird thing. All great films seem to have that sort of thing, like Vertigo. Like when Vertigo's one of those movies now. When you talk about it with film lovers, it's like it's held in such high regard. Giant bomb when it came out.
Yeah,
like
unbelievable to think that would bomb because it is such a beautiful looking movie.
Vertigo, I don't care what anyone says. It's one of the top greatest films to ever be made. And I say that about The Shining as well. They're just made by these people who are just on a different level than the rest of us. But
everybody else is playing checkers and he's playing chess.
He's playing some space game.
Yeah.
We don't even know what
he's playing. Do you watch Star Trek?
Yes.
He's playing the 3-level chess game. That's what he's doing.
Well done.
Oh, thank you.
Here, take this candy.
Thanks.
Stop giving him candy.
And no, but it's such a beautiful film, and I like this movie in particular. Is definitely one of my favorite Kubrick films, if not my favorite one. And when it comes to horror, I feel like this is like the epitome, like the Citizen Kane almost of horror film.
This movie had
one of them for sure.
This movie had things that were more terrifying than anything that we've ever done, and nothing happens. It's just there's an eerie ominence of something is going to go wrong throughout the entire movie, which is just you fall in love with it right away.
Yes.
And because it's Kubrick, I've heard people talk about scale of a movie, and the scale of this thing is just epic. You have this hotel resort that is a character. Like the hotel itself should have a credit in this movie because it looks so good, and it has it's a character. It's essentially a character, but it's a building, and it's a tangible thing that can't express emotions or anything like that, but you feel a presence being in that hotel or resort or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I would say like David Fincher talks about this in I think I just watched an interview with Mark Ruffalo and Robert Downey Jr. It was like actors on actors. They were talking about like David Fincher. Yeah, they were talking about Zodiac and stuff, and like Mark Ruffalo was saying, he was like, I realized I was doing take after take after take, and David Fincher is known to do that, right? And he was like, man, I just suck. Like, he thinks I'm a terrible actor. This is why he's doing it.
No.
And then he realized David Fincher's like, oh, no, all right, I want you to move here, this person over here. And it's all like the background actors and stuff going on behind, like, you know, behind the actors. And he was like, I'm only 10% of this. Like, he's like, everything, like, that's why David Fincher is so good, because it's not the actor's performance. It's like making the whole picture look and come together. And I feel like that's kind of like what Kubrick does. It's like, yes, the actor is giving 100%, right? Mm-hmm. But it's only like 10% of the frame
of what you're. Yeah.
And so, like, it literally, that's why it looks like a painting. You know, like every frame is almost.
Do you ever feel like, to kind of go off what you're saying, do you ever feel like sometimes you watch movies and you're like, that was a great movie because the actors are great, and then there's certain movies that you watch where you're like, oh, those like style over substance.
Yeah.
Right. Do you feel like Kubrick was just the master of getting everything on the same level?
Yes.
So in the last episode,
yeah, absolutely.
In the last episode, we talked about Hitchcock, and you said that the way he blocked, everyone was where they were supposed to be when they needed to be there. I feel like this movie was the same thing, where nothing was wasted in this movie. Right. Nothing is a throwaway scene. It gets long at times and a little confusing, but everything just is perfect and where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's interesting to be able to achieve something like this, where you feel like you've been in that hotel.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For as long as the characters have, but like not in a bad way. Like what's interesting is before the last episode we did, you were talking about how Hellbound Hellraiser 2 felt a little long in the tooth.
Yeah.
About an hour, 30, 40 minutes, you know. This is 2.5 hours, and it flies, but you feel like you've spent a vacation in that hotel. He makes you feel it.
Yeah.
He makes you feel the room. You know, it's weird because there's times where I'm like watching it, I'm like, I know somehow Stanley Kubrick captured the feeling of being inside when it's snowing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to make that make more sense, but it's just, I don't know. Like, I felt like I was in there.
Yes. I feel like he captures that, and he does so many things in this movie that those wide shots, and you have like the 10% of the frame is just that actor, so it feels isolated, you know, like these small people in this huge space, right? Mm-hmm. And another cool thing he does with like blocking and staging, when they go to the hotel for the second time, he gets hired and they're getting the tour, right? He does this great thing where every time we see them and they're walking through the hotel, the camera's like following them, right? And
he does that beautifully in this movie.
Yeah, so that it follows.
Is
them.
That the steady cam?
Yeah, so it will have that, and then they go into the gold room, and they're like looking in there, and then so we get into this. We're getting used to this pattern of the camera moving with the actors every single time.
Yeah.
Until they go into the food pantry, and the camera is moving with Shelley Duvall and Dick O'Halloran, but we see that, you know, Danny stays behind, and that, so immediately we're kind of like subconsciously like, oh wait, something's off right now. Mm-hmm. And that's the first time we see The Shining, you know, like happening. And so that is just like throughout this whole movie, but that's just like one example.
Yeah.
And you're like, that is freaking genius.
Yeah.
So this time watching it, I was like really just watching it for the directing, and I'm so used to like the story by now, but it's just like such an incredible movie.
I also appreciate little things that some filmmakers don't really embrace this kind of stuff. I like going through the hotel before all the crazy stuff happens, because I feel like modern day movies
you're
now,
setting up.
Yeah, like modern day movies today, like they would, you know, probably start it in like a scary moment and then be like 1 year earlier, you know, something stupid like that. But like, I love that it takes the time to show you the locations.
Yeah.
So that like when you're in there, it's like you just always know where you are.
Right.
It's a giant hotel, and you always know where you are. It's so cool.
And they have that police station, and you know that police station is very far away. Yeah. I don't know how they did that without, but you know that it's a trek to get there.
I mean, as soon as this film opens up, right? You already see the journey.
Say, let's get into it because I want to get into that opening shot where the credits and it's a helicopter shot. He comes in through the landscape of what looks like Switzerland, but it's Denver, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah,
and there's he's coming through the mountainside, and his car is going through, and there's this shot of the helicopter just brushing by the car and then going over the canyon into the valley, and it's just like. First of all, how did you do that? It's a helicopter. How many takes was that? Yeah. Did you get that on the first one? I have no idea.
Right.
But several helicopter pilots died.
I would believe it, and he would probably have been okay with it.
I know, he's like...
Yeah, it's so good. And this is going to be a difficult episode because we're just going to gush on this, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, I know.
For the record, as much as I love this movie...
You got some problems?
No, it was completely ruined for me because of The Simpsons.
The shinning.
Because, gosh, when I'm watching that movie last night, I'm just in my head being like, it's like, you mean Shining? But I got seed. I don't know. It's funny. Who cares?
Well, one of my favorite jokes ever is from The Simpsons. Yeah. It's like, usually the blood gets on off on the other... Or,
on the fourth floor.
On the fourth floor, yeah. But yeah, no, this film, so let's dive into this movie. So the film opens with, one of my favorite openings ever. It really captures the drive to the Overlook.
I would put it in the same category as the opening of The Sound of Music.
Okay, I've never seen The Sound of
Music.
You've
never
seen film too.
same vibes.
But just this sweeping landscape view, and it's just magic. It's just beautiful. Do
you remember when Jack was singing "The Hills Are
Yeah, I remember that. I don't know how they got past the copyright on
Hey, you know what's an interesting thing about that opening shot? It was so perfect that years later, when Mike Flanagan made Dr. Sleep, he still used it. He just kind of gave it like that day for night thing.
Yep.
But it's the same shot. By the way, Vince.
Yes.
In the realm of sequels, Dr. Sleep is worth your time. It's a sequel to The Shining.
Okay.
And it's basically about like Danny Torrance all grown up. And he's played by Ewan McGregor.
Really?
And if that's not good enough for you, then what is?
Okay. I'm in on that.
Made by Mike Flanagan, one of the probably maybe the best horror filmmaker out there right now. I don't care. You know?
Him and James Wan?
You know what? I take Mike Flanagan over James Wan. Only because, did you watch Midnight Mass?
No,
We're not going to talk about Midnight Mass. But what I will say about it, watch it. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch it. I mean, I love
Hope you like your
stuff.
monologues. They're awesome.
But yeah, no, we get this amazing shot in this journey to the Overlook, and immediately through the music and through the isolation of just the solo car making the journey to the Overlook, you already feel this haunting presence, right?
Yeah, you feel like they're like that camera's like the perspective of like evil.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like those swooping shots that you think are so beautiful. I hear that music and I'm like, oh, hell's going to that hotel right now.
It gives you a sense that you're alone too.
Yeah.
It's very like unnerving.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And
that's a good word for that music too.
Unnerving. Yeah.
Yeah. The music, the scenery, it's so weird how something so beautiful and so haunting tie together so well. Yeah. It's so good. But we get to see Jack, and he's going in for the interview, and the scene kind of lays out what Jack's new job is going to entail. And meanwhile, back home, Jack's wife, Wendy, and their son, Danny, are chatting about their somewhat excitement if Jack does land a job at the hotel. And in the interview back at the Overlook, Jack, he is like acing this interview basically, and he's all in on the 5 months of isolation, and
Jack is a writer, and he wants this time to kind of unwind and relax and write his next novel or story or something like that.
Yeah, and he is not alarmed at all.
Nope.
By the story of Grady, who brutally murdered his family.
Well, he seems like marginally taken back by it, because there's a moment of like, but
okay.
like it's still just one of those things where you're like, well, better than pumping gas.
Yeah, it's like chalk it up to
better than
cabin
waiting
fever.
tables.
Yeah,
I mean, he kind of goes off about that.
Yeah.
Later on, when he's
Later
yelling at
on.
Wendy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't know, this is a pretty sweet gig.
Yeah.
They want us to basically sleep here.
Yeah.
And get paid for it.
Yeah.
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 Sign me up.
We're gonna be here anyway.
You know, I was gonna cut my family up anyways.
Yeah. And I love that he's like, my wife would be thrilled to hear something about that. You know, like the whole Grady story. He's like, she's gonna be thrilled.
Gonna love it.
Yeah.
Because she's like a horror movie buff, and I'm
Right.
just like, hey, get her on frequels.
Get her
Come on, Wendy.
Can we get her?
Yeah, I know it's Jelly Ball somewhere.
So back home, Danny chats with his imaginary pal, Tony, and
Played by his finger.
played by his finger.
Did you know
And-
his finger was actually up for an Oscar?
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Tony tells Danny that his dad got the new job, and he warns Danny not to go. So Tony's like, don't go to the hotel. And Danny's like, why? And so they have like this whole conversation.
He has a conversation with himself and his finger.
Right.
Yeah.
And
if you're gonna go, please put on some gloves.
yeah,
It's cold up there.
it's cold. And I need to stay warm.
need to be inside a glove.
But we see Danny, and he gets the first image of like the elevator of blood.
Which is just that whole movie is that shot. This whole movie
Yeah.
is that shot leading up to that and what comes of it. But it's beautiful. Like just it's so that will live on forever.
Yes.
So I'm gonna try to not sound like a moron when I explain this. So
Go
bear
ahead.
with me, Frequel Nation.
Everybody get your crayons.
There is a lot of talk in this movie. It's kind of downplayed a little bit, but it's in there about how the hotel was built on a Indian burial ground.
Yep.
And if you watch the movie, there's all sorts of Native American imagery in there. So I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I felt like the elevator, while again striking, if that's supposed to be like some kind of like a visual metaphor for like all the blood that was spilled there.
Yes.
Right.
Is that what
Yeah.
that is?
I would say
that's
yes.
what I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I said I didn't want to sound like a moron, but I thought that came out pretty well.
That did.
Yeah. No,
Edit all that other
Hey,
stuff out.
hold on a second, everybody at home. I gotta pat myself on the back. Hold on. There you go.
It's good.
I'm
Yeah,
a winner,
I-
everybody at home.
I'm a winner, guys. So the next scene, the doctor checks out Danny because Danny kind of freaked out and had like an episode, right? And so the doctor arrives and he's checking out Danny, and Danny tells the doctor, he tells her a little bit about Tony. He's like, Tony's my friend. He lives in my mouth, and then like
Is
Shelley.
it weird that she writes him a prescription for that?
Yeah, Wendy is like, oh, that's his imaginary friend, and like the doctor's like,
Yeah, that's not normal.
yeah, okay,
Oh, you got a classic case of little boy in the mouth.
yeah, interesting. So the
Illegal
doctor's
in
like,
most states.
What?
Illegal in most states.
and the doctor gets a little of a backstory about one time Jack Torrance came home, and Danny was playing and knocked over all his school papers because Jack used to be a teacher. And so he grabbed Danny by the arm and he actually injured Danny.
Roughs him up a little bit.
Yeah. And after that, Jack kind of swears off drinking ever again.
What's weird is that Vince has actually done that to us a few times,
Yeah.
but it didn't stop him from drinking. He kept drinking more.
Yeah.
And it's gotten
Blamed
worse.
it on us.
I'm not going to let you guys change my life. I can't do that.
We're not trying to change anything. We're just trying to have a nice show with you.
I'm
Yeah.
just
And you keep dislocating my arm.
drinking is more important to me than my relationship with you.
And
Yeah.
I know you say that every day,
I know.
even when I don't ask.
And you don't get the point.
I get text messages every day.
I'm like, Vince, you dislocated my arm, man. He's like, you have another one.
Yeah. They said that he would get rid of frequels for just one more drop.
Yeah, one more drop.
One more.
Guys, one more drop. That's all I need.
Yeah.
Just one little drop. So Jack and the family make their way up to the Overlook and have a nice chat about the Donner Party and cannibalism. Danny's like, I know what that is. And he's like, see, Wendy, he knows.
He's like, he saw it on the television.
He saw it on the television.
Jack's obvious contempt for his wife is awfully funny in this movie.
From the get-go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He like never seems to really want
No.
to be around her.
He is so irritated by her.
Contemptuous.
Yeah, like, in just like anything she says just gets right under his skin.
Yeah.
Like nothing, like she's the nicest person in the world, and she's like, "I'll make you a sandwich," and he's like, "Wendy, you don't get it. Leave me alone," you know. So, anyways, the Torrance family, they arrive and they get a tour of the hotel, and like I said before, this is like outstanding stuff that Stanley Kubrick is showing us the hotel and using these characters to kind of guide us through the place, right? And does it in such a way that it seems natural at first, and then all of a sudden it's not.
Is this when we get the flashes of the girls and the blood, the blood from the elevator, or was that before? But like just like little, a second, and then it's gone.
Oh, yeah, that was Danny's episode.
Yeah. That looks awesome. And
It's
it
so
plants a little seed in your head of what's to come, which is just great.
Yeah.
Hey, remember when they ripped that off in Evil Dead Rise? Moving on.
Yeah. So they come across, Dick O'Halloran, and who shows Danny and Wendy the kitchen.
I described him as adorable last night.
Yeah, Scatman Crothers.
I don't know what his performance in that movie.
He's very likable.
Yeah. I just want to give him like a hug.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, he seems like it's so wholesome.
Yeah.
Until you see his apartment, you're like, what's going on?
It was
there?
uncomfortable, I guess, for Becca when I was like hugging the TV.
When he was Dick O'Halloran's on.
How do you? You have like a 75-inch TV. How the hell did you hug that?
When you love, you love.
Hey, I get that.
He has one good arm, so he's able to do it.
It's more like I just have my shoulder up
His
against him.
his other arm is broken from consistently patting himself on the back.
No, from you ripping it
Oh, that
out of
too.
the socket.
Well,
Yeah.
fine. Learn your lesson, Rory.
That moment when I pat myself on the back was the only real joy I've experienced since I started Frequels, because I come in here all the time and Vince likes to tell me all the things that I'm doing wrong in my life, and then he rips my arm out of the socket.
All right, enough talking from you, Rory. Go ahead,
I just
EJ.
want to talk about it. I'm scared.
No, it's okay, man. This is a safe space.
No, it's
except
not.
for Vince.
EJ, you
No,
should be
it's not.
scared too. He's coming after you next. He said so.
I know. That's why I'm trying to talk it up as a safe space,
Okay.
man.
We'll talk in the treehouse later.
All right. So then, as they're getting this tour, they see their apartment, they see the hedge maze a little bit, and some other hot spots and stuff. They meet Dick O'Halloran, who shows Wendy.
I would like to
Danny.
say I love a scale model of anything. By the way,
Oh,
so when they showed
yeah.
the scale model of the maze, I was like, oh, that's awesome.
It's
Yeah,
great.
it's so cool.
And immediately setting up stuff in the future.
There's
That's-
a beautiful transition later too of that. He's like looking down at that little model,
And they
and
yes,
that transitions to the actual. That's
That's
so.
I got lightheaded when I was watching that last night.
Yeah.
Of course, I was on a
So good.
cocktail of many drugs at the time, but still, I got lightheaded.
Yeah.
I take a lot of drugs now, everybody at home, because Vince keeps dislocating my arm. And
stop acting up.
I'm in a lot of pain.
So, Dick, at one point, he's talking to Wendy in the pantry, and he also telepathically is having a conversation with Danny. And then eventually he's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to get him some ice cream. You guys go ahead and finish the tour.
Well, he calls Danny
Doc.
and she's
Yeah.
like,
How'd
she's
you
like,
know?
how'd you know that? And he's like, because I dug through your trash.
I know. I think you called him that. She's like, I don't recall calling him that. And then he's like, oh, you definitely did. You did that.
I've
And
been
she's
awesome
like,
if like it was like a hard cut and she was just dragging Danny away real quick.
yeah.
And Dick was just getting arrested.
Yeah. So Danny gets, Dick gets Danny some ice cream while Jack and Wendy finish off the tour. And that's when Dick kind of has a chat about their gift. Him and Danny share a gift. And Doc calls it The Shining because him and his grandmother, they both kind of had it. And so in this gift, The Shining, you could telepathically chat with each other, but also you could talk with ghosts and see things, like have premonitions and stuff like that.
What's to come, yes.
Yeah. And Danny asks then, he's like, is something bad at the hotel? And then Dick kind of says, more or less that sometimes bad traces of things can still remain.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful way to say, like,
you're
ghosts.
right.
Yeah, there's ghosts haunting this place. He's like, sometimes the remains of, spiritual remains kind of stick around.
Yeah.
And sometimes those things can torment you.
Yeah.
And horrify you. And then ruin the rest of your life.
He's like, especially stay away from, room 237.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he brings that up to him. He's just like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when he was like, stay out of there. Don't go in there.
I probably could have given you a warning myself. Yeah. But I wanted you to stumble on it yourself. A lot of rooms.
And then we get a cut, and it says 1 month later. And the Torrance family is adjusting to living there now.
And I love the timeline, how they map out everything that's happening. And every time it gives you a date or a time, there's that sound that just is eerie, and it's just perfect. It's perfection.
And it's almost like this ambience, right? But then it's like a haunting.
Yeah.
And so it's like...
Yeah. And every day is going to be something bad.
Yeah.
I thought it was weird.
So
I guess initially it was the 1 month later.
1 month later.
Thing.
Yeah.
That's what they should have done with this movie. Mr. Kubrick, call me up and I'll tell you how to make your movies better.
Yeah.
Watch Nickelodeon. SpongeBob.
Yeah. I think Mr. Kubrick would have really liked the SpongeBob.
I think he would have made a movie.
Yeah.
That, like
SpongeBob just kills Patrick.
Yeah. So the Torrance family, they're adjusting, and we see, how Danny is cruising around the hotel, so showing us like parts that we haven't really seen before, but
he's on his 3-wheel and he's just cruising through.
Yeah.
All of those shots where he's tracking behind him look awesome. It's so steady, it's so clean, and it's just it's like you're there touring the hotel with him. It looks so good, and it gives you a sense of where you are in the hotel.
Well, there's also another thing that's really cool about that is that every single time he's like taking a turn, you don't know what he's gonna see.
Around
it's
the corner.
There's suspense because of
you're
that.
gonna see it at the same time that he's gonna see it.
Yeah, it's very suspenseful because it's like once he makes that turn, you're like, oh, what's gonna be there? Nothing's there.
And
the
sound
he
design
keeps doing it over and over again, so you're just kind of like, here it comes, nope, here it comes, nope, and then it happens, and you're just like, fuck.
Yeah, and it does such a great job because the parts that feel safe, we have like the sound of the like hard surface. So it's like do 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 do, and then he hits the carpet, and that's silence. It's like that silence, and he's taking those turns, and you're just like anticipating because anytime a horror movie goes silent, you're just
waiting
alarmed. Yeah, you're waiting for something to happen. So it's just like a beautiful use of like sound design too. And so I always love that.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I think it's interesting that Vince actually rides a little 3-wheeler around 3 Jacks.
It's hard to do because it's not very big in here.
He's always like checking tables. He's just like...
I'm just like picturing him like riding around.
With my hands going back and forth.
Yeah. You're like taking hard turns around the bar.
Like fishtailing.
Everyone's just trying to eat and act like it's not happening.
He's a 40-year-old man on a 3-wheel.
This is really weird.
What is happening?
It's like a big wheel. He's just riding around. He's like... I can't.
He's losing it.
Oh, sorry. It's just like the imagery is there, and I can't unsee
of a
it.
giant me on a 3-wheel in a restaurant.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You guys need any more drinks? No? Okay.
No.
We're actually just drinking coffee.
Yeah, we're just drinking water and coffee. So then Jack and Wendy are discussing how much they are loving their time at the Overlook. And then it cuts to Tuesday. And Danny he's riding on his big wheel again. And he stops at room 237. And he just stares at the door.
Yeah.
And
He goes past it on his big wheel, and then he kind of rolls backwards a little bit, but then he looks at it, and then he gets up from his seat.
yeah, and that like, oh, dude, do not
Don't
go in there. Yeah,
Don't
and
go
he's
in
just
there.
like,
you don't have to go in there. You
just
were
staring.
literally told not to go in there.
yeah. But I think that the greatest effect of that is that he isn't like trying to reach for the door or anything. It's more like he's just looking.
It's almost that he feels something there.
Right.
Yeah.
And so those
It's
moments,
like something's like watching him through there.
Yes.
Beckoning.
beckoning, perfect. But it's almost like it's tempting him, but it's not. But he's like feeling that presence, right? And so, I love that instead of him trying to reach, I feel like most movies would be like, oh, have him reach for the door, and then like a noise
Spooky
distracts
hand.
him. Yeah, like something grabs him.
Or like,
whatever.
no, you know what would happen today?
Yeah.
It'd be a very slow thing that happens. Like he's like looking up at the door, right? It's open. He's like reaching for it, and the door slams shut.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're just like, I want my money back.
Yeah. No, but I think it's more effective,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
He's just staring at it, and you're just like, you and him are sharing that moment, and that is more, I don't know, like it feels like you're in there too. You know what I mean? So
There's
so good.
a thing that is not utilized nearly enough in horror as stillness.
Yes.
Stillness is such a wonderful tool to have in your arsenal, and people are so afraid to use it.
Yeah.
You know those shots in the original Halloween of Michael just like it's not even that he's anywhere near the camera. It's like he's real far in the background, or it's like that shot where he's like standing in the where the laundry's hanging, and he's not doing anything, he's just standing there. It's so much creepier than like him like charging at the camera or something. You know what I mean? But like just like Stanley Kubrick, being some kind of genius, managed to make an open door.
Right.
Have us three assholes sitting around talking about how awesome it is.
Yeah.
Good job.
Doing more by doing less.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's some
Yeah.
horror works best when it's simplistic, in my opinion.
And then he pops back on the bike and just goes away, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which
yeah,
is
he
great.
doesn't.
He
go
knows
in.
something about that, huh? He loves his strike.
So Wendy checks in on Jack, and he's typing away, and she goes
Tapping away.
tapping away, and she's like, "Hey, how's everything going?" Blah blah blah, and he lays into her about disturbing him while he types. He's like, "If you see me in here, and he's like, does this great.
I wish the audience could see what you were
That was
just
really
doing.
good.
Yeah,
That was good.
it was like Jack Torrance, but if he was a Muppet.
I love that because I love the Muppets.
I know you
yeah.
do. I feel like that's why it was in there.
Yeah.
It was really fun when we were watching this movie last night. Becca's she said
She's like,
something to me.
EJ reminds me of Jack Torrance.
Yeah, she's like, but if he was a Muppet. No, when we were watching the movie, she's like, she said something like, "I'm afraid I'm gonna find you like that someday," because that's what our relationship is. Like sometimes I'm typing, I'm writing, and then she comes in, and I think she said she thinks I'm gonna kill her.
Oh, okay.
And it's not
Yeah.
because I okay, fine, I've said it a few times,
You're right.
and sometimes I've actually tried.
Right. It just happens.
It
Yeah.
tracks.
But
and-
our
yeah.
law system is what it is, and they let me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Becca, if you need help, contact us.
Yeah. Please call.
Yeah, says the guy who ripped my arm out of its socket.
Vince will show up on his trike.
You know what's weird? You pass down your violence to me.
Yeah.
It's like fucking Halloween Ends over here.
Yeah.
Generational trauma.
We were like looking into each other's eyes, and he passed all that crap over to me.
Yeah. But yeah.
Sorry, Becca.
Sorry, Becca. But so then we cut to Thursday, and Wendy and Danny are playing in the snow, and they head into the maze. And this is when Jack is watching from above, and we get that Kubrick stare. And where Jack is just like
head down,
transfixed, and he's like,
dude, that shot literally sums up how I feel every day at work. Like, if I could say one shot sums up how I feel when I'm at work, it's that shot.
Just disdain for what is going on in your life.
Madness. Exhaustion and madness.
Yeah. And I love Vincent D'Onofrio flash over to another Kubrick film. Does that same stare when they find him in the bathroom.
Kubrick liked that. He liked that, like, head dipped, eyes looking up thing. He does that in a lot of his movies.
Yeah.
I think he did do that in Clockwork Orange also.
Yeah. And it's I guess it's like one of his
trademarks,
where I think it's called the Kubrick stare or something.
People at home, Vince actually just left his mic. EJ, I'm really scared.
Don't be. It's okay.
I'm really afraid that he's going to hurt me more.
No, he's not.
You remember, like, we were just sitting here talking the one day, and he came in and ripped our arms right out of his sock. Oh, shit, he's coming back.
He's back. He's back.
God, I knew you were gonna, at some point, I knew you were going to talk shit as long.
No, we weren't. Please.
I'm just gonna go into my own thing. I feel like Kubrick, no matter who he works with, he's going to get the best performance out of them, whether they're good or not. And he'll make it work for his movie. Like, D'Onofrio is great in pretty much everything he's in. Law and Order. Yeah. Nicholson, I mean, you can't ask for... Shelley Duvall, I felt in times in this movie, like, she's overacting a little bit. Like, especially on the staircase at the end where she's just losing her shit.
Love it.
But like,
I don't know, man. I'm going to have to challenge
Okay, that's fine. And that's fine. But he always gets people to do what's going to suit the movie best.
Yes. Yeah. And Vincent D'Onofrio, like, has that same... I was saying, how he had that same, like, stare.
Yeah, that dead...
and right before...
Soulless... Yeah.
And that, to me, is kind of like... it's just, like... It's, like, piercing through you, you know? It's so...
But it's also, like, the characters, like... truly touching darkness.
Yeah, it's like that dive, like, like the mental dive into madness. Yeah, it's crazy. But and then it cuts to Saturday, and Jack is still typing, and Wendy can't get the telephone to work. So on the radio, the police inform her that the storm is horrible, and it actually took out a bunch of the phone lines. So if you have to contact us
via
use
radio.
The radio. Yeah. And again, Danny is riding on his big wheel around, and this is when he comes across the twins for the first time.
Which, Vince, as I said before,
this Halloween,
you're dressing your daughters up.
They're as the twins.
Yeah.
Terrifying. That's a terrifying shot.
Hey, people at home, if you'd like to see Vince convince his children to dress up as chopped up children, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Well, I love that you see the twins, and they're like, "Come play with us, Danny," right? And it's almost like a blink of an eye kind of situation.
It's just fast. It's just so fast, and just again plants the seed.
Don't stay on your horror too long.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. You stay on it too long, and you get desensitized to it, and it's no longer scary. And Kubrick understood that.
Yeah.
It's like Jaws.
And it's not. Yeah. And it's two little girls. It shouldn't be terrifying.
They show you that real quick intercut thing of like them chopped up, and you're just like,
oh, okay.
Oh,
okay, that's there.
Yeah,
I have that now.
Yeah,
I have that forever.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Stanley
thank
Kubrick.
You, Mr. Kubrick.
Nightmare fuel. Thank you.
So then we cut to Monday. And Danny is asking Wendy if he can go play in the apartment. And at first she's a little reluctant because Jack is up there resting.
He doesn't want to play in the apartment. He wants to play where he is, but he wants to go get his fire truck.
Yes, yeah. And so he goes up there, and we see...
Jack should be asleep.
Yeah.
Because he should be sleeping. And he's upright on the edge of the bed, which is alarming.
Yeah.
Which, again, is literally what I look like every single day before work. Yeah. I'm just sitting on the edge of the bed.
Contemplating murder.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I understand this movie in a way I don't want to understand it.
Yeah. It's so good.
He's good because he opens up something in you that you normally don't think about.
Yeah. It's just sort of like, oh, that's what you are, Rory.
Oh,
Yes.
That's what you are.
All right. Yeah.
You stud.
He opens up the horror that is inside of all of us, I would think.
Well, that's my favorite kind of horror. It shines the light on the darkness in human beings.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, that's what we are. We're trash. Neato.
Yeah.
Thanks for the reminder, man.
Thanks, Stanley Kubrick. I guess I'll go back to watching my Frank Capra movies instead. You know?
Golden Girls
Yeah.
episode. Something joyful.
I want to think more of George Bailey than Jack Torrance.
Yeah.
Just, they should put those two in a movie together.
Oh my god.
You
That
know?
would be amazing. Can you
Yeah.
imagine?
It's a one. I would love that.
Jack.
Sure.
He's like,
Jack.
oh, I don't have your money. Jack has it. I do not. He starts putting people up with an axe.
Do not. So Danny, he sees his dad and he goes over and he's like,
He asks him to come over,
Yeah.
and you could see the fear in Danny's eyes. Like, I
Yeah.
remember what happened last time.
and then this is when Danny finally asks, like, hey, are you
Are you gonna hurt us?
would you ever hurt me and Mom? And then it cuts, right? We don't really get a definitive answer, and so it cuts over.
Again, we've talked about this before. Not knowing is scarier than knowing.
Yeah. And while so it makes that cut, and then Danny is playing with the fire truck and he gets interrupted from recreating the moon landing. No, I'm just kidding.
He's got the sweater on.
No, he has the sweater on.
Is that a joke?
What?
I would hope so.
Sweatshirt?
Yeah.
The Apollo shirt?
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Like,
I hope
that was like a
100%.
Because you know how that's like a weird
the
theory.
We've,
Yeah.
So I
for
think
morons.
I've made the joke before on the podcast is that people say that Kubrick filmed the moon landing, and they would have to have gone to the moon because Kubrick would have wanted to shoot on site.
Right.
So they would have had to go to the moon anyway. Because Kubrick's that good.
Yeah, he's that good and that thorough. But he's playing, and
So what they're talking about, our listeners, is that he is wearing an Apollo shirt. Danny
Right.
is wearing an Apollo shirt.
And I was joking that he's with his toys recreating the moon
landing, yeah.
But that's not true. But he's sitting there and he's playing, and he gets interrupted. And as he walks along, he spots that room 237 is open, and he's just like, oh. And then he kind of walks towards the room, and we don't see what happens. And later it's revealed, but like, how great is that? He just feels the presence again, and this time he gives into the temptation to actually like take a peek inside. Like, what's so bad about this room? You know what I mean? Like, being a kid, we're all curious. We're always like doing stuff we shouldn't, and he just takes that opportunity.
Well,
He's like, it's open.
If there's that darkness that's beckoning you,
Yeah.
and at first you hesitate, and then you
Right.
hesitate again, eventually those walls come down.
Yeah.
You look inside, and then what you see is an old lady in a bathtub.
Yeah. Well, we don't get to see that yet.
Yeah.
So.
Oh wait, what are you talking about?
Oh, it's just when Danny like.
Wait, is
he's
that in this
looking
movie? I'm just
Yeah.
saying that's what I see.
That's what I see.
That's what
every
darkness
time.
is. It's an old lady in a bathtub.
So Jack
Read your Bible.
Jack has a nightmare, and he's like, ah, 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 and Wendy hears him all the way, from the hallway, and so she runs.
He's slumped over his typewriter and
Right,
sleeping,
and
and
having this
she hears it and runs to
Awful
him.
nightmare, and so when he wakes up, he's freaking out, and he's like, I had a nightmare that I killed you and Danny, right? And
Oh, okay. I thought I had notes for this. With him screaming at the table.
yeah.
I have Jack screaming at the table was how I slept for months following Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, jeez.
If everybody at home wonders if I will ever stop making fun of that movie,
It's not going to happen.
I might. I don't know. I might
Somehow
get bored with it.
Palpatine's back.
Yeah. Somehow.
Great writing. Hey, how'd you come back? The pathway. Don't give me lines from better movies, sir.
No.
Anyway, go on.
So as they're discussing this, suddenly Danny enters and he is all bruised around his neck. It looks like literally
He'd been
someone
choked.
grabbed him by the neck, and you could see the fingerprints,
The bruising, yeah.
on his neck.
Which triggered me a little bit because of our time with Vince.
Oh yeah, and
Stop acting up.
and
Sorry. Please don't.
Wendy immediately is like, Jack, did you do this? And she accuses him and kind of runs off with a very funny
Do you love his
doll version of Danny. It's like just runs and the kid's just like,
Limp.
yeah, limp.
Ragdoll.
I love his reaction to her, like when she's like yelling, and she's like, "You did this," and he's just kind of like,
Okay.
he's not like saying anything. He's just kind of like, "Oh,
yeah.
oh, me."
And so, yeah, we get this cut where, frustrated Jack takes a walk over to the gold room and he walks up to the bar and he starts to imagine,
Is it a hallucination?
starts to have like this chat with this bartender. And when you
Lloyd.
first walk in, the bar is empty. There's nothing behind the counter. There's like these shelves, all empty. No one's in there. And he sits down like he is a bar patron. And then all of a sudden, Lloyd is there. And behind him are all like the bar is full now. And so he begins to have this conversation with the ghost bartender.
He goes into this bar, which is essentially dead, and by
Right.
sitting at the bar and having a drink, he brings everything to life.
Yes, and again, it's almost like his demon that he exorcised before has now crept back in.
Yeah.
And almost like the hotel was giving him that temptation, right?
And I like the
that's his
19
apple.
I always like the 1920s theme. That's
Oh, yeah.
so cool.
Oh, it's awesome.
The book, The Shining, I guess, is like a
What's a book?
it's this thing that I don't know. Even when they were around, I didn't read them. I didn't like them. I thought they were quite anti-American.
That's one of those things with the squiggly little lines in them, right?
Yeah, I burn them.
Yeah. You burn them? Yeah, you do.
Yeah, anytime they're banned, I just burn those.
I like to burn the books that aren't banned to show people.
Yeah, I just burn books,
I burn them all the time.
banned or not,
Three Little
Burn.
Pigs. Yeah.
especially classics.
But I know, like, the original book deals a lot with alcoholism. It's kind of like a giant metaphor for alcoholism. So, Stanley Kubrick injected it where it needed to go. It's
And-
not quite what the movie's about, but I know that's like a giant theme.
And
Yeah.
the idea of him wanting a drink and saying, I have money in my wallet, and then opens his wallet and there's no money in the wallet. And
Right.
he's like, no, it's on the house. Like, no, you're going to get this medicine, whether you need it or not. We're giving it to
And
you.
he drinks
Right.
it, and that's when all of
all
the
of it.
ghosts come out.
Yep.
All
Yeah,
your
so-
monsters and
So this is when he opens up, he goes, I have a lot of contempt for Wendy. And then he's like, I didn't hurt the boy. I didn't.
He
and then eventually
he tries
he's
to
like,
explain it away.
Okay, I did.
Yeah. He tries
and
to explain it away. Which
Words
is,
of wisdom, Lloyd. Words of wisdom.
white man's burden.
Yeah.
Lloyd, white man's burden. That shot, probably one of my favorite shots of. Probably in a movie in general. That shot of Jack, from
Sitting at the
Lloyd's
bar.
perspective. I just love the way that's lit.
I was going to say
Yeah.
everything in this, as we've discussed thus far, but that shot of him sitting at the bar with Lloyd at the bar and those lights that go around the bar is just so eerie, and it gives
Yeah.
you a sense of there's danger with just friggin' lights and him sitting at the bar.
Yeah, and I love that the bar itself, right? So it's like a wood kind of bar, but then you could see it was like cut out and lights were put into the bar itself, which kind of gives that underlining.
Yes.
And which is a very popular thing cinematographers will do, is underlight for like creating like a villainous old school noir kind of
An ambiance of evil.
Yeah.
There was when we were filming Burden of Beauty.
Shout out. Raven View.
Check it out. Your own stuff.
YouTube.
When we were filming that, one of the shots, I don't want to say too much about it, but there was a shot of the actress in the film. And
what's her name? Shout her out.
Oh, Melina Berry.
Melina Berry.
Yeah,
check
she
her
was
out.
in the film. She did a great job. Chris Alou, EJ Leeson. Those guys.
That fucker EJ Leeson.
Fucking dude.
No, there was when we were filming it, there was a scene where we were trying to get this effect, right? I don't want to say too much about it, but
right.
We shot it a bunch of different ways and it just wasn't hitting. So I literally was just like, why don't you put a light underneath her?
Right.
And then push in, And it is so unsettling.
Yeah.
It's like this thing where like it just completely changes it,
Right.
I love... I don't know why that when light is kind of coming up underneath somebody, it gives it like a very unsettling.
It highlights features that like aren't like we're always used to lighting hitting our face or at least from above from the sunlight and stuff. So it always comes down, right? So when you light up this way, we're seeing features of the face that we're not normally used to.
Not supposed to,
and not supposed to.
And it also gives you that eerie campfire story vibe.
Yes, yeah. It's just like lighting, makes such a difference.
It's almost as if he knew what he was doing. This guy,
right? This fucking guy,
this
right?
fucking guy.
Oh, you were talking about Kubrick.
No, we were talking about you, Rory.
Thanks, man.
No, this fucking guy.
Right here.
So Wendy runs in and says, so he's there, he's having his drink, and he's talking with Lloyd, and that's when Wendy runs in. She's like, Jack. It was some lady in room 237. She's the one that strangled Danny. And
we're not here alone.
There's someone in the hotel with us.
Horrifying.
And Jack's response...
Yeah.
Very scary line.
Yeah. And Jack's response is like, are you fucking out of your mind?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
To something very real that she believes.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
He essentially patronizes her for having a theory.
Right.
Well,
and
he's
he literally is just having a conversation with an imaginary bartender. And he's like,
no,
are you out of your fucking mind?
Are you crazy?
Guys, you got to go easy on him. He's drunk on ghost bourbon.
Yeah.
All right.
Ghost bourbon. It's almost like ghost peppers, but... not as spicy.
Nothing like skin vampires.
Right. So then we cut to Dick O'Halloran, who is watching the news, and then he gets a premonition of something horrible about to happen. And Jack goes to... now we cut back over, and Jack goes to room 237 and finds a lady in the bathtub. And from his point of view, she's a beautiful woman. And but we get the real glimpse of her, and she got ugly real quick. Evil Dead. But
I don't get that reference.
Her ghoulish form takes hold after they kiss, right? And Jack spots her rotting corpse in the mirror, and it's horrific, because her back is all like. You could
old. She's just old.
Well, she's old, but you could see like
decaying
the decay of like taking place in her back. But even her skin looks waterlogged. You know what I mean? So it's really like, it's horrifying.
The varicose veins are there. It's a whole situation.
Yeah,
someone killed their mother-in-law in that hotel.
Yeah, probably. So
I've never heard someone address that before, but that's my theory.
And then we have where Dick makes a call up to the Overlook, but has no luck. And at the hotel, Jack comes back to the apartment, and he tells Wendy, he's like, I didn't find anything there. And Danny gets a vision of red rum while laying in bed, along with some more elevator blood. Like, this time it's like...
it's
really
flowing.
Yeah, it's flooding his like brain right
awesome.
now.
There's like a red gel over the camera, over the lens or something. Because it's just like
so good.
Red,
and it's just you see like, and he's literally like freaking out, and to the point we find out a little bit later that Tony actually has to take over because Danny's so freaking frightened by the sight of like the blood rushing, and it's so good.
Yes.
So then Jack storms out.
That kind of reminds me of, and this might have nothing to do with it, but the Wachowski brothers in The Matrix have an elevator scene in the first Matrix where there's a shot of just a solo of the elevator in The Matrix, which after watching this, I'm like, oh, they took that specifically from that, just the angle of it. Right. Even if it's only for 2 seconds, I feel like that's an homage to Kubrick in this, just the way that looks.
I actually, I watched behind the scenes on that elevator, and the Wachowskis specifically said that was not a reference.
Thank you.
And they...
What, really?
No.
It's like...
EJ, come on. I knew it, dude. I knew he was fucking with me. You got to get better at this.
Oh, man. I was like, really? They were like, this is not a rip-off.
Hey, did you think it was weird in the outtake when...
You thought you knew how to read me with this shit. I can still get you.
Yeah. So Jack storms out.
So good.
We see where Jack storms out after a fight with Wendy and finds himself back at the Gold Room, which is now full of ghosts and people from the 1920s. And Lloyd gives him a few more drinks. He's like, here you go, and he's like,
it's on the house. Yeah, your money's no good here.
Yeah. And at one point, Jack is getting up, and he bumps into this butler or server.
There's one thing. I have a note here. It says, you have to ask EJ about this. When Jack's walking, he does this little dance.
Oh, love
I'm
it.
like, if I see dancing in a movie,
we're gonna let EJ know about it.
EJ, I want to ask how he feels about it.
Jack Nicholson is probably one of the best actors ever, and you could tell in that dance move.
Yeah, he knows.
Yeah, he knows.
He gets it.
That was a very disappointing response, EJ. I expected more. Let's just move past it. Okay, you've embarrassed yourself enough.
Yeah.
All right, so he spills some on himself. Or the butler bumps into him, and he spills everything on him. And he makes the comment to the butler, is like, oh, you barely got anything on yourself, right? And then he takes his dirty hand and rubs it across his back, which was just perfect.
Yeah. And so we find out that
they make their way to the bathroom.
Yeah, they go to the bathroom, and we find out Jack's like, what's your name again? And he goes, Delbert Grady. And
I guess once you kill your family in that hotel, you just have, as a ghost, you just have to serve drinks for the rest of eternity. That's your reward.
But yeah, the ghost of Grady informs Jack that he is the caretaker. He's like, you're the caretaker, and you always have been.
And this scene is extremely long, but I feel like everything in it is not long. Do you know what I mean by that?
It's a long scene that does. It doesn't. I know what you mean. It doesn't feel like you're in that bathroom for a while.
He's talking to him, and he's repeating himself.
Yeah.
And saying, "You're the you've been here before," and he's like, "No, I haven't been here before." And he's always been here, and he keeps leading him on, and it feels like, okay, this is long and drawn out, but it doesn't feel long and drawn out just because you're so into.
You know what it reminds me of? Did you ever see Inglourious Bastards?
Yes.
You know, like that basement scene?
It's the best.
It's really long. It does not feel long.
Yes.
I heard Tarantino talk about that, where he was like writing that scene out, and he was like, this feels a little long, but it's working. So he's like, just roll with it. Just keep following, keep chasing it. And it's one of the best scenes in that movie for sure.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's that kind of a thing where it feels a little long, but it works, and it's perfect, and it's economical in a weird sense.
Yes.
Whatever.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah. No, I love that scene, and I love that in the scene, Grady is talking about how Jack has always been the caretaker. He's always been part of the hotel, like just like he has, right? He's like, I had to correct my wife and my children. And he's like, now it's your turn to correct Danny and correct Wendy.
I like how he's like, I had to correct her.
I had to correct her. Yeah. And Grady, even he looks very like gaunt and scary himself. Like, he looks like he would be a ghoul. There's no makeup or anything, but it just like
kind of like Frank and Frank's Little Beauties of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Right. He looks like a ghoul.
Looks like a mortician did his makeup.
Yes. So
Brilliant.
at the apartment, Wendy is brainstorming ideas how to leave.
I love how she's talking to herself.
Yeah,
like
she's
that's something that I could see somebody like her doing. Like, okay, we're gonna do
what
this.
if I
We're
call
gonna get out,
this,
and then we're gonna
and
do
do
this, and then we'll call
this.
that. And if that doesn't work, we're gonna try this.
Yeah. And then she hears Danny shouting red rum and checks in on him. And it seems like now this is where Tony kind of took over after that, flash of premonitions and stuff. And Tony basically is like, I'm here now. Danny went away.
Danny went away.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool because I feel like Tony is protecting Danny.
Yes. Yeah.
In a way that
100%.
So he doesn't have to deal with this. Tony's going to take over for now.
Hey, wait a minute. Does that mean that Danny's the little boy in the mouth now?
Yeah. I think so.
Think about it?
Yeah.
I thought you were making a joke about a little boy and being in
I
someone's
was
mouth.
asking you a genuine question.
All right, so let's unwrap this.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Did they switch places? Does that make Danny the little boy in the mouth?
Okay. I didn't think about it that way, but yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And that's how he's protecting him this whole time. Danny is protecting Tony, and now Tony is protecting Danny. Okay, yeah. I buy that. I like that.
Yeah. I feel like that's what did I just see? There was a movie recently where, like someone had a traumatic childhood, and to protect themselves, they created like another version of themselves. Like
Freaky Friday.
Migration.
You know what? Fight Club is kind of like that. You know what I mean? Like creating a alternate personality who kind of takes
to help
over.
protect. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Bambi? Isn't that one of the movies that did that?
what is it?
Bambi?
Yeah, Bambi.
Remember Bambi?
Yeah, that's
I
right.
do too.
So anyways, Dick gets through to the police and the police radio up to the Overlook, and Jack actually overhears the radio, and he disconnects the radio. He takes all like the circuit,
Takes it apart and he takes the transistors out of it. Yeah.
And then Dick hops on a plane because they're like, we're no luck. And so Dick hops on a plane and makes his way back to the Overlook. He even gets a snowcat, like he books a snowcat and everything. And he's taking that snowcat up to the Overlook to get there because all the roads are pretty much destroyed. And not like snowed over at this point.
And let's be honest, who doesn't want a snowcat? That's kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
You can go anywhere in that thing, right?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah,
I want
man.
one of those. It's
I
like
like
a little
house
I
tank.
want one of those.
House,
Yeah.
I like house cats more.
House cats are pretty cool, but
Shout
snowcats?
out to Ella.
Yeah.
What's up, Ella?
Oh, she's doing okay.
Yeah.
I was eating some Chinese food before I came here.
I love how I opened up to talk about Ella and
Yeah.
you jumped on
I
it.
know. Before I came here to talk to you guys tonight, I was with Ella. I was eating some Chinese food, and she was like licking her mouth because she wanted some too.
Did you give her a noodle?
I couldn't give it to her because the second I do, she's gonna just start wanting more food. Like,
That's okay. Fucking give your cats food.
no, I don't. I like to starve them.
Hey, when you see her, tell her I said.
What? Oh no, I love her. I would never do
Yeah,
that to
tell
her.
her.
Hey, do you know that Scatman Crothers, when he's taking his little journey to the motel, did you see that he was with Tony Burton at one point?
What?
Yeah,
No.
the guy who trained Apollo Creed.
Really?
Yeah, Tony Burton's in this movie.
Whoa, well, who was he in the movie? Oh, is he the guy that had the snowcat?
Yeah, he's like in that old gas.
Oh,
station
the
thing.
gas
Oh.
station owner.
Oh.
Yes. Oh my God, you're right. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
That's
my
where I
God.
knew him from. I knew he
Yeah.
looked familiar.
Yeah, he looked so familiar, and I didn't look it up or anything. I was like,
Joe
I see-
Petito is spitting right now that you guys didn't see him.
He's like, yo, these bastards. So at the hotel, things take a turn for the worse when Wendy goes to chat with Jack. And first she finds out Jack isn't much of a writer. He's got a solid sentence, and that's about it.
Tony Burton.
Wow. That is crazy. I had no idea.
We learned something today.
Yeah,
Look at that.
that's
Look at us.
amazing. But yeah, she skims through his work and she's not really impressed. And that's when Jack comes in and he
All work
confronts her.
and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Just sheet after sheet. And my wife's comment on that was like, once you're past page 5, why are you still looking?
Yeah.
It's all the same thing.
And
why?
I love that it is like bracketed off and it makes it look like conversations are happening.
It's centered, and then that's really
one
cool.
of them actually looks like he's trying to do like a screenplay.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. No, it's great.
I saw that
so
and it made
good.
me laugh a little bit. He's just like, maybe this rant, this weird raving will work better as a book. Maybe it's better as a screenplay.
I like the idea that he thought he was probably writing his novel at the same the whole time, but he was so transfixed and getting taken over, you know.
And I also wonder if you were to let him read it back, that it wouldn't be that same sentence over and over. He would know what the dialogue was in the movie because he's so batshit crazy at this point.
Yeah.
I would hope that.
Me too. And so he confronts Wendy, and I love his delivery of Wendy, I'm not gonna hurt you, and
Just gonna bash your brains in.
yeah, Wendy, darling, light of my life. Yeah, and so
That's a good Nicholson, by the way. It's pretty good. It's pretty good Nicholson.
I love how real this feels for Nicholson, because normally it would feel like overacting, but it really does feel like a husband fucking deranged and really yelling at his wife, right?
Is this before or after One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
This is after.
This is after.
Yeah.
So is this this is peak Nicholson, right?
Yeah.
I would say, I don't know what peak Nicholson is. I feel like he. Oh, do you mean like?
70s,
What do you mean when you say peak?
So
I feel like 70s, 80s.
how
like
much
that
of
decade.
how much of
He's
his
always been good though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
how much of his character in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is in this character?
They're
I don't
different
think-
characters.
Yeah,
different characters?
Wait, did you ever see One Flew?
No, that's why I'm asking.
It's weird because Scatman Crothers is in that too, and
Yeah, so is Tony Burton. No,
but-
he's not.
no, he's not. But One Flew Over
when
the.
you looked at me and you said that, I knew you didn't even have to tell me. I knew you were lying.
I think One Flew Over. R.J. McMurphy, I think is his name, right? McMurphy. Yeah. He's more fun and he's not deranged at all.
This is crazy, Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, this is this character should have been in the mental institution, where McMurphy was just a person who was a little rebellious and kind of stood up for things. So he didn't belong there. You know what I mean? So it's taking two characters and I'm gonna make the crazy person the one at the hotel and the sane person in the mental institution.
The reason I ask is
Guy who should be in.
yeah.
the reason I ask is because it's so believable that he's just losing his mind.
Yeah.
It's great. He's fantastic.
It's phenomenal acting. His
I feel like
delivery
Kubrick
and-
just let him go and just
You know
you got
what's
this.
weird though is that Kubrick wouldn't just let something like that go.
No, because he's very particular.
Yeah, so
but
I feel
he's
like
so good that
Yeah, I feel like he was probably mesmerized by Jack Nicholson, which is kind of amazing. It's funny with Jack Nicholson. I feel like he's one of those actors that across the board, no matter who you talk to, they're just gonna be like, "I love Jack Nicholson."
Yeah.
One of just top tier actors.
I love Matt Damon tells this awesome story about Jack Nicholson when they were doing The Departed, and Jack Nicholson was supposed to just shoot the girl, and then it would cut. He's like, what if I shoot the girl and she falls and I go, well, she felt kind of funny, didn't she? And then, he keeps adding stuff more and more. And Matt Damon was just so impressed because originally it's just a quick scene. He's supposed to go shoot him. And then Jack Nicholson's like, what if I shoot her and I comment about how she falls? Hey, Marty, what if you, he keeps going, and Martin Scorsese was like, yes, do it all,
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, if you ever get a chance, listen to Matt Damon tell that story. It's so good. But anyways, Jack, he's trying to get the bat off Wendy, and Wendy actually hits him so hard in the head, he falls down the stairs.
she hits his hand first, and he takes a note to it, and he waves it off, and then she cracks him in the head, and he falls down the steps.
And the way he falls down the stairs is and how his arms are sprawled out,
And it's believable.
It's yeah. And so she ends up.
Rory, I swear to God, if you don't stop yawning.
Yeah, I'm just so bored.
She actually drags him to like the pantry, which is crazy, you know, because in the beginning it sets up that room to be like, you know, something important later on, but we don't know that at this point.
There had to have been a different room she could have put him in, not the room that you're going to need at some point.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Like,
don't put him with your food.
Yeah, you're gonna need those Cheerios in about 2 hours.
Go put him in room 237.
Yeah, put him in somewhere else.
Hey, you know what? Put him in 236.
Yeah, something.
You keep track of all your rooms.
There's so many rooms to pick, and you gave him up the one room that's gonna make you
really need that.
There's at least 237 different rooms, and so like one of them could have been.
It's like, what's the worst decision one could make?
Yeah. So
you made it.
She locks him into the pantry, and then Wendy goes to check out the radio. He's like, "Yeah, go ahead, check out the radio.
Yeah, check it out."
And the Snowcat, and then she runs and she checks out the radio, and of course, you know, it's apart. And then it
almost looks like he cut the alternator out of the Ice Cat.
Yeah,
and it's just sitting there. Wires cut. Yeah.
And so he pretty much destroyed both. And then a little later, Jack is asleep in the pantry, and he hears a slight knock on the door, and it turns out to be Grady. And Grady has this conversation like, "You have to. We're nervous. You're not going to get it done, but you have to. You know,
you have to complete the task."
Right. And so
like
you have to correct
episode. They had Homer locked in the pantry, and then the ghosts go to get him out, and he's just sitting there eating all the food. It's just like, we don't think you're gonna kill your wife. Yeah, and she's like, go away eating, and then they just come in and drag him out.
So Grady,
I have to pee again, so please talk shit about me.
No. We won't. But at this point, Grady, we hear that he's unlocking the door. They don't show it, which is amazing because it's like, obviously he's a spirit anyways, but I love that you hear the unlocking of the pantry door, and then Jack is like ready to, you know, exit.
I also like that he's sleeping on a sack of potatoes.
Yeah.
The most uncomfortable thing in there to sleep on.
And I was like, he had to pull those out, set it up in a way to be like a bed, you know? But yeah, meanwhile, Dick shows up with the Snowcat, and Danny wakes up Wendy by using her lipstick to write red rum on the doorway. And he's like, red rum, and then it gets that voice that he has.
Red rum!
And I'm like, oh my God. It like really kind of goes through you a little bit.
Yeah.
And
you probably have to fucking kill that kid.
Yeah.
If that was my kid,
you would be dead.
I would have killed him.
Yeah. That tracks. And
little boy in your mouth, fuck you.
Fuck you.
Keep going.
And so Jack starts busting down the door with the axe, and Wendy takes Danny and locks herself into the bathroom, and she's able to sneak Danny out of the window, and he crawls down to get out, but she can't fit through the window, and this leads to the iconic "Here's Johnny," and him putting his face in the doorway. I'm just like,
she could have made it out that window. I just feel that she didn't try hard enough.
Hey, you know what she should have done? She should have taken the back of the toilet off and just started smashing it up.
Yeah, let's all agree that she didn't try very hard.
She didn't try hard enough.
Yeah.
I would have went into like I was in a saw trap. I would have just been looking around the room for shit.
Yeah, and just be like, pfft. But yeah, she's trying to, and then Jack's trying to reach his hand into the door, and she
cuts his hand.
Yeah.
Is that what this feels like?
Yeah. Ooh.
I'm bad.
I don't like that.
Oof.
So Jack.
Sorry.
Wait, what is that? What is that reference?
I think it's from Family Guy.
Family Guy? Oh, is that what this feels like?
I belong in here. The criminal.
The criminal.
Jack and Wendy hear Dick Snowcat approaching, and Jack stops going for Wendy and goes to greet Dick instead with an axe to the chest, which is that scene. I love how you're not expecting it at all, and he's walking down this hallway yelling, "Hey, hello anyone," and then behind one of the pillars, Jack just pops out.
Just a beautiful baseball swing to the chest.
And his scream before he does it too. It reminds me of like Chucky.
Me too.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Dick's journey is almost like a metaphor for life. A whole lot of shit for nothing.
Yeah.
I know. It's just like
all that work and it led to nothing. Hey, before we blow past it, I love when Jack's cutting the door down with the axe. And the camera kind of follows the axe as he's swinging it. Oh. I love that. Every time I watch that movie, I'm just like excited for that because the camera's just staying on that axe as it's just clever, cool filmmaking. It's so good. But we're not gonna stay on that, guys. Keep moving.
It's that left to right thing that he set up so early in the movie with them walking through the hotel. So like again, we have the axe. He pulls it back,
and it goes over with it,
and it keeps following him, so it's just like kind of bookending his camera movements, you know, and I love that. But anyways, yeah, Wendy, she actually goes to look for Danny, and that's when she sees some weird stuff.
That's when she finally,
she sees like ghosts of all kinds, like the famous bear giving the BJ to the guy.
Was that BJ and the bear?
BJ and the bear.
Yeah.
And then
literally
old reference.
Winnie the Poohing.
And then basically. And then
Winnie the Screwing.
We also see all the skeletons that are just like filling the whole lobby of the hotel
where he was typing his and
you just see like all these skeletons all over the place. Meanwhile, Danny runs into the maze to escape Jack, and Danny, the little genius bastard that he is, he retraces his steps and confuses Jack because Jack at this point he's like looking at
he's just following his footsteps, and he takes a couple steps back into his own footsteps and then darts off into like a little side part of the maze.
Yeah, and then he tracks erases like his footprints.
A la 101 Dalmatians where they cover their tracks.
Yeah, he's like covering his tracks, and Jack follows the footprints, and then he just like is like, oh, and then you see like the madness is already like at this point, even before that, has taken over, and he doesn't even care about footprints now. He just like runs further into the maze.
There's a funny thing on the last season of Dexter, the New Blood show.
Yeah,
where like Dexter tries that on the guy who's hunting him.
Yeah,
and the guy's just like, "Are you kidding me? That's the oldest trick in the book." Yeah, it's funny.
I liked Dexter New Blood.
I did too.
It was so good.
It's one of those things I think it's gonna age better.
Yeah,
down the road.
Yeah.
Never seen one episode of Dexter.
I love Dexter.
I'm sure. Oh, I didn't think you liked TV shows. Who'da?
I like Dexter.
Okay.
I don't like TV shows. Here's my thing, and then we're gonna blow right past it. I just don't have time to watch all this content.
Okay.
All right? That's all that it is. It's a bunch of crap. Every single day I would go into work, and somebody would be like, "Hey man, did you ever see Johnny's Magic Toaster Ride?" And I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" Like, "Oh, it's a show on Netflix." I'd go on Rotten Tomatoes, I'd look it up. It has like a 99% Rotten Tomatoes score, and everyone's talking about it. And then a week later, no one's talking about it again.
Well, yeah, Quentin Tarantino just brought that up.
Did
he? He talked about, he's like, there's movies that go to Netflix, and he's like, Ryan Reynolds was in a movie on Netflix, and people talked about it for a week, but I can't even tell you the title of that movie.
Yeah,
now.
It's Spirited with Will Ferrell.
Was it?
Probably, because
that
was
movie, a Netflix movie.
Yeah, it was a Netflix or it was an Apple.
When he said movie, did he do the quotey fingers?
No, it was like I heard it like via radio kind of thing.
No, we're here, so I'm going to get into this. Have you seen Dahmer?
No.
Dahmer's fantastic. You need to see that. What was the movie or the TV show we were just talking about that he needs to see? There's a lot of good content that's TV shows that you need to check out. It's long form. Think of it this way. Think of it as, so Dahmer is a 8-part series. Think of it as a really long ass movie. Just look at it that way.
So, and then we're gonna go past this.
No, this is really funny. No, this is really funny because my friend Pashi, gives me shit about this all the time. She's like, you have to watch this show and this show.
Because of TV shows and not movies?
No, yeah, because I'm a movie person. Like, I love going to see movies and first. Like, if I could see the movies in theaters, I totally will.
So I'll say this, and then we'll move past it.
No, we're not going to move past
it. I don't want to talk about it. There's that last picture show movie that I watched that, and I'm like, just what that movie was, the way everything was like executed, the way it was set up, it's gonna stay with me for the rest of my life. These Netflix shows, all these shows that keep popping up,
Stranger Things,
they're like junk food. They have like they elicit like a little charge, and then it goes through you, and you forget about it.
That's it.
It's just like, I mean, I'm not saying all of it. I'm sure there's stuff on there that's great, and I just haven't watched it, but. I don't care.
Yeah, no, that's what
I'm gonna die.
Tarantino was saying. It's go ahead.
Go ahead. No. Go.
Oh no, he was just saying like his movie's not in the zeitgeist. Like not everyone knows it. Like most of the time, people talk about the movies that are in theaters because everyone kind of like will go see it at one point or have heard of about like that movie specifically because it's a little maybe more mainstream. You know what I mean? And there are people, like I would say I 100% would go see a movie in theaters before I would stream a movie.
Me too.
And so movies that do go to streaming, like I didn't watch Bradley Cooper's movie.
The fact that you don't even know it.
Yeah, I didn't watch it because I was like, oh, it didn't go to theaters. And I don't really care. Like I know that's like maybe snobbish, but the truth is, if it did go to theaters, I would 100% go see it. But when movies go straight to streaming, I'm like, I could watch that whenever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I don't want to commit to streaming. I think it's like a cancer for cinema, and I just don't want to partake. So I'm not gonna.
So here's my only argument. Breaking Bad. Have you seen Breaking Bad?
That's not streaming show. That was
a show
you
on stream.
AMC.
Okay, so if you want to see it now, you have to stream it.
I guess what we're talking about is more like
we're going apples to oranges.
No, it's not. We're talking about no. It's the stuff
that's fine. Hey man, I'm here for this.
The stuff they put on like Netflix, Paramount Plus, Disney Plus. That is all just a bunch of content. Like AMC, that like when they had like Breaking Bad and shows like Dexter, they used to have to pitch really hard to get stuff like that made.
Yeah.
Now they just make shit to justify what you are.
Yeah, for the advertising and yeah.
So, what happens in the hedge maze?
Oh yeah. So let me tell you what happens in the hedge maze. No, but it's really funny because your analogy of being like it's just 1 8-hour movie.
Yeah.
My friend Pashi's like, it's just like watch this show. It's like a lot of movies, just
Yeah,
like,
all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, I think I'm gonna just like watch this movie. But back at the hedge maze.
But to be fair, I can't point at something that has streamed lately on Apple Plus or Prime that is worthy other than maybe like The Boys on Prime.
Yeah,
but like as far as that shit goes, Rory, you're right. Like the shit that comes out is shit. It's content.
It's almost just like stuff that if it was 20 years ago, I find it hard to believe that it would ever have been made.
Okay.
Where like streaming services are desperate for content, they just make a lot of stuff
they are.
That starts off very strong and then fizzles out. That's been my experience with streaming, like shows at the streaming services. They put a bunch of stuff out that gets your interest, and it doesn't really ever land in a way that's meaningful to you.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, moving on.
All right. So back at the maze, we see where Danny outsmarts Jack, and he makes his way out of the maze, and he comes across his mother, and the two hop on the snowcat and head out.
Get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah, they just leave. And then we see where Jack is
It leads to the iconic picture of this movie, which is just Jack frozen in the snow.
Yeah, the next day we see Jack, he's frozen in the snow, and we get this beautiful dissolve into him in the picture, which is in the lobby of the hotel, and it's a July 4th
in the
1921 party, and we see all these people, and his face is like front and center at the bottom.
Yeah, like he'd been there all along.
And that image of him frozen. If anybody would like a visual of what it's like to live in Pennsylvania during January, that's what it is.
Yeah, this movie is one of the best movies of all time. It's badass. It's kick-ass. It's all ass.
There's nothing
so much ass.
There's nothing
so
we can say about it that
Yeah,
hasn't been said a million times.
Yeah.
It was even difficult to do an episode on it because it is one of those things. It's like, what are you going to nitpick? What are you going to goof on?
Right.
It's just one of those things, you know? It's a risky movie to take on.
I'm happy we did it just because the shit that you guys make me watch, this was something that, like, this as far as content goes, this was really good content.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen this before. I've seen this over years, never front to back. You know what I mean? Like catching little glimpses of it, and to sit down and see the whole thing and his vision of what this was supposed to be was fantastic for me.
Yeah.
This is worth it for me to do this stupid fucking podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Every once in a while, we get I got a little nugget of
drinking
awesomeness.
again.
He's drinking
Always.
again. He's on the
Never
sauce.
not.
I'm so glad you did pick this, and because I appreciate watching this every single time. Because I feel like every time I do watch it, I come out with more and more and more, and the more you watch it, the more you get from it. Yeah.
It was cool, too, because I know you said we should do The Shining, and then your other choice was Kangaroo Jack. And maybe part of me wishes that we went with Kangaroo Jack.
It wasn't Kangaroo Jack. It was Johnny's Magic Toaster Ride, and you didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it.
You wrote that down, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Goddamn right I did.
Magic Toaster.
I just made that up.
It was fantastic.
Another
Johnny's Magic Toaster Ride. I gotta
another
write that
Raven
down.
View movie.
I know. Want to do it?
Yes.
That
Flesh
sounds
vampires.
like
Skin vampire.
like
Skin vampire.
like coming out of the '60s movie, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Like
It's
some
like
acid trippy movie.
yeah.
Yo.
We should get it's like
Johnny's Magic Toaster
what
Ride.
is it? Like the Huff and Puff?
Hufflepuff?
No, Huff and Puff.
And Blow Your House Down?
I don't know what it's called. It was like a 70s
H.R.
show.
Huff and Puff? Or
I think that's
stuff,
it,
or
right?
something like that? Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, H.R. Puff and stuff. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, okay.
Which later became in later 2000s that my kids watch was Mutton Stuff, which was a big. It was H.R. Puff and stuff, but it was a big giant dog, and his name was Mutt. And they had Caesar Milan and his son ran the show, and it was just dogs. Anyway,
Didn't Michael Vick have a show like that?
oh no.
knock the mic
Oh
over.
no. So let's go into emojis. What'd you guys pick?
Let me get there. Let's see. Here we go. So I have a landscape. I have a bike. I have a cigarette with a super long ash. I have an axe, and then I have the frozen emoji with the guy with his teeth chattering.
Oh, yes.
Did I beat you to that? Yeah.
Yeah,
at the
you
end.
did. Two of them. So I also had the axe and the frozen
guy.
Yeah, and then a ghost for all the
ghosts that were there.
Yeah.
I found an actual hotel. I found a snowflake. I found an axe. And then a kissy face because I'm feeling a little randy.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
All right, so overall thoughts on this movie. I know that last we did Psycho and Psycho 2, and you went out and bought the original
4K.
Psycho, the 4K, and whatnot. Did this rekindle anything for you? Did this make you want to get anything Kubrick related?
There's no rekindling necessary.
No,
I am
there.
a huge Stanley Kubrick fan. Like I'm not even kidding. Like I do own every one of his movies.
Your favorite,
even like the ones that no one really ever talks about.
Yeah.
Your favorite Kubrick movies? I'll go. Clockwork Orange is hands down. Do you guys have a favorite?
I don't know. It's really hard. Clockwork Orange might be my favorite.
It just unsettles you, and makes you feel things that you never thought you would feel.
But it's like I don't. As I said to you the one episode, I'm not really a big fan of rankings because I feel like, especially his movies, are so
okay. How about
different
this?
from each other.
If you were to
it's
tell,
like saying what do you like better, like Clockwork Orange or Barry Lyndon, and you're just like, I don't know.
If you were to tell somebody this is the best this is the best way to view Kubrick, what movie are you telling someone?
The most accessible.
The most accessible.
I would say The Shining is probably his most accessible movie.
Yeah.
That or the first half hour of Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, like that. Like you wouldn't say to somebody like, "Hey, you really want to like understand and love Kubrick? Check out Eyes Wide Shut." Because I personally love that movie, but I know some people, have weird things about it. But yeah, I would say that's a good entry Kubrick.
Do you have a Kubrick that you?
Yeah, I would say The Shining is probably my favorite because I do love Clockwork Orange and Full Metal Jacket, but I feel like I probably revisit The Shining the most, and I don't know, there's a lot to it that I just absolutely love.
Yeah. Clockwork Orange is like my that. Remember when I showed up at your Halloween party dressed up as a Drew?
Alex. Yeah,
that's cool. I'll have to show you a picture of that at some point. But yeah, I think like Clockwork Orange is probably, if I were to ask myself what's your favorite Kubrick movie, it's probably Clockwork Orange. But then there's like parts of me that are like, it might be The Shining. I don't know. It's hard. Yeah. I don't really think like that. I guess I'm not good at like picking a favorite of anything really.
It's like children. I don't know about you, Vince. Do you have a favorite child that you want to say on the radio?
It's easy. It's Sammy.
Oh, okay.
He's my little puppy.
Sammy is a good.
He's a good little boy. Yeah.
No, but yeah, no. I feel like it is like picking. You know how like parents will say, "Oh, I don't have a favorite. I love all my children." At least that's what my mom says.
Some people say that because I know like that's like I know that's like a thing that people try to do. They try to categorize everything.
Yeah.
Because they'll say like, "What's your favorite like even like Hitchcock movie?" And there's times when I'm watching Psycho and I'm like, "Oh, it has to be Psycho." And then I like watch Vertigo. I'm like, "No, it's probably Vertigo."
Yeah. And
then it's like you watch like Rear Window and you're probably that. But then there's like even like that guy has movies that no one really even talks about all that much, like Notorious.
Rope.
Like Rope is a fantastic movie. Like it's just it's really hard because when the movies are so, especially like when a filmography is so diverse, it's really hard to just say that's my favorite because they all hit you in different ways. So.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I feel like
question, Vince. I'm comping out.
That's fine.
I have a toss up for Hitchcock. It would probably be either Psycho or North by Northwest. Like those two are like
great flicks.
Yeah. But then Rear Window and Vertigo are kind of like, hey, what about us? We're right here too, So it's hard.
I know.
It's really hard.
So for all you kids out there, just so you know, I'm just gonna say 6 movies, and there's more. The Shining, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh God, 2001. I forgot. Yeah.
A Clockwork Orange, Eyes Wide Shut, which is just a fucking trip. Full Metal Jacket, Doctor Strangelove, and Spartacus. I mean, I can keep going, but it's just...
Check out Paths of Glory.
Paths of
There's
Glory.
a wonderful criterion that they have for that.
I'll have to check it out.
It's not to mention all the friggin' documentaries that were made on Kubrick. Like, that shit is interesting, too.
Don't talk about that documentary, that Room 237 documentary. I don't know if you ever saw it or not, but it's you watch it and it's just like a lot of reaching.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have to talk about that. But anyway.
Let's get into plugs. Yeah. So first off, I want to plug a couple things. Adam Farley's music. Check it out on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to music. Check out Fourth Cut movie reviews on YouTube. Check out Movie Mania
with our boy Joel Petito.
It's on Facebook. It's a Facebook group if you want to join. If you love movies and you want to talk with us and other people that love movies, join Movie Mania.
Join us.
Jon Snow's bands, friend of the show. You could check them out on Facebook and like his pages. There's Issues, which is a Korn tribute band. Realign, which is Godsmack tribute band, and it's the Red Cap Assassins. I was saying Red Hat Society.
It's all good.
Yeah, I was so close. But Red Cap Assassins, which is a Limp Bizkit cover band. Also, we have Variant Season, another band with our buddy Will Perna. Awesome, heavier kind of music.
I'm going to throw in our friend Bill Carlo. He's got a band called the Death Tones, Death Death Tones, which is a horror band, which is kind of cool.
I just did Bill's
How was that?
It was a lot of fun.
And then Little Shop of
Hairdos,
which is Lauren.
Our friend Lauren Egbert. Yep.
And then, of course, Three Jacks. You have to
Three Jacks
give a
Burger
plug
Bar.
to that, baby.
Yeah. We're in Three Jacks Studios right now. It's back room.
Yeah, back
like
room.
After hours.
Best burgers in the world.
In the galaxy.
In the galaxy.
In the galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're traveling through the Milky Way.
Yeah.
And you want a nice burger,
they actually
stop on down to Three Jacks.
Yeah, they have a
Dunmore,
burger of the month this month. It's called
North America.
Cruising past the Milky Way.
But yeah, also check out Raven View.
Productions,
and that's on YouTube. And also give it a like on Facebook. Join the group, and you can see some exclusive stuff from Rory's films.
And if you don't do it, I don't care. I want you anyways.
Yeah, get lost.
Sour grapes.
And last but not least, I want to plug my girlfriend's doing an art exhibit come first Friday in February.
Where?
At the Asian Spice Market. And so I think it starts about like 6 o'clock and goes to like 9 or 10. But you could come check out some of her art and stuff.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And then also, last but definitely not least, guys, make sure to rate and review us on Applecast. It helps if you want to give us a 5-star review specifically. That would be awesome. And even if you want to leave a little comment, like, you guys are pretty cool. Yeah. We appreciate it.
And again, tell your friends. If you don't like horror movies, like I don't like horror movies, I'm sure you know somebody that does. Just hook them up with this.
Hook them up. And then also, don't forget to email us if you guys have requests of movies you would like to hear us talk about or review, or even if you have any questions, or you're like, hey, I just want to tell someone something, email us at frequelpodcast@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. Don't send us any requests for movies coming up, because we have a slate of special guests coming up that is fantastic. Yeah. We got people coming in that we're excited to have.
So excited.
Some repeat, some new people. It's going to be fun.
And some guests I'm so pumped. Like, I can't wait for them to be on. It's going to be awesome. And also, guys, check out our Facebook. We have a group out there, or a page for Frequels Podcast, and you could, I think if you just type in Frequels, it should pop up, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and you could like it, and then also we share like photos and little tidbits on there and links to our podcast.
And check out our OnlyFans account.
Oh no. Rory's selling his feet pictures again.
Your feet pics?
Nice. And they're doing really well.
Really good?
This time.
They're bringing
Somebody
in money?
named Q Tarantino is a huge fan of mine.
Yeah. I heard.
We should talk about that one day.
Yeah, let's dive into that.
We don't
But
have
guys, thank you so much for listening. And we appreciate you guys reaching out and emailing us and just giving us
overall support is nice.
Love. Yeah, and I think we're actually doing we're gonna look into getting shirts made, right?
Yes, that's a thing.
That's like, we're definitely gonna
they're gonna say, for some reason, they're gonna say fuck Vince.
Yeah,
Frequels.
Fuck you, Vince.
It's gonna say that, but maybe not.
I demand one that says hard edit.
And so hopefully we could maybe like sell them online, maybe even here at 3 Jacks.
Yeah, at 3 Jacks. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care. I know the owner.
Yeah, you know him.
Yeah.
Rory knows him.
Yeah.
But guys, thank you so much for listening. And if it wasn't for you guys checking us out, we just appreciate it so much. And with that being said, guys, thank you for listening to Frequels.
Daddy.